Dan here, DD Speed Shop. Today we're going to talk about my favorite thing, old junky cars. So, I know we've been doing a lot on this Raptor here recently. I got a little goo gun here. I'll see if we can get this. All the PPF. I wonder if we should let it sit on there. How does this work? Directions, pre-test on inconspicuous area. Okay. Apply goo gun. Wipe. Gently blot stain. Oh, let's sit. You know, I feel like it's going to be fine. What do you think? Anyway, so these old cars. Now, obviously, I really like old cars. 50s, 60s, 70s, kind of muscle cars, classics, whatever you want to call them. And typically what I end up doing, oh yes, it's perfect, is, look at the goo gun just work, is we don't restore them. A guy had a really good word there, not to know, we refurbish, would be kind of a more accurate representation. So they go from being in the junkyard or whatever it may be, like pretty sad shape, to ultimately having, you know, suspension done and the brakes done and all that, and they're, you know, drivable again and back on the road and back to being enjoyed. Now, are they perfect? No, they're far from it. But the cost, especially bodywork and time involved, is high, and I don't enjoy it. Now, so we get lumped into the Patina category all the time and stuff like that, and of course we get a lot of comments saying, finish it, you know, real hot rod guys don't do this, all those things, and that's fine. That's what I enjoy, is this. Now, this truck is in a weird spot. So Patina, where does Patina end? Or where does it start is another good question. I don't think, so I guess I should date, 20 years ago, square body trucks were everywhere and they were cheap, and if the nice ones is what you wanted, you didn't want the beater ones, right? And now all of a sudden they've become really popular and they're super expensive. When I had multiple of them in high school and stuff, you were buying replacement panels or whatever it was called. Well, now they're restoration panels, and restoration panels cost more than replacement panels or whatever it is. So they've come into vogue, and as it goes, now the next stuff is like 5-liter Mustangs. Oh, this guy PPF the Ford logo. Huh. How about that, eh? 5-liter Mustangs are another perfect one, or G-bodies and Monte Carlos, all the 80s things. You always had the Grand Nationals that were valuable and stuff, but the oddball ones were kind of junky. And even then, the stuff from the 70s, if it wasn't a big block Chevelle or an SS Chevelle, it was junk. But now everything, because it's so rare and hard to get and expensive, is kind of what people are working on. So I wanted to try and get into it because I saw the 5-liter Mustangs, I saw the square bodies, I saw the G-bodies, where I passed on a bunch of them, and then prices just went crazy because they weren't really my thing. And that takes me to this. So I firmly believe this truck right here is 10 years old. The pricing of cars, if it's going to be a classic or a collector item, is like a reverse kind of bell curve thing where it starts off as high as it can and then it slowly goes down until eventually it kind of bottoms out. At $10,000, I'm saying this truck is bottomed out. We're going to fix it up. It's already worth more than it was, but then it starts being worth more as it goes. I mean, 5-liter Mustangs were so cheap at one point. Everybody had one. They were beat to hell, and now they're a fortune. So that's how I look at this truck. It's an investment. It's part of my portfolio. My portfolio. Who needs a savings account when you've got junk? But now it takes us to the level of how do we carry on with this thing? So it's beat. I mean, when I say I paid 10 grand for it, it's because it was Canadian. It was 10 grand because it's beat. It's beat. So what do? Do you restore it, fix it up, paint it, do all this work to it? I don't think it's worth that. But the problem is these newer vehicles are not going to age as nicely as the old ones. So this one here has had some farmer paint job done on it. It's rusty, it's this and that. But you know what? We'll wet sand it, we'll polish it, we'll make it look nice, and we'll bring it back to kind of a ratty look. We're fixing up fenders, kind of, bits and pieces, do what we got to do. But it'll have that farm truck look.
It has like history.
You know, it has, yes, that feeling of it was built and this and that. And this thing was put together with a computer, you know, whatever. Now, ultimately, it's not going to age as nicely, and I was talking to my buddy Dallas about it, because of a lot of different things. And a lot of vehicles are kind of starting to get there. So for me, like an 80s square body Chevy truck, they look all ratty, I like them, but you step into the 90s, I've had a few of those, they don't age as well for me. Now maybe it's just they need more time in my own mind before I start looking at them as a classic car. But this, how is this going to age? And this one's even older. But I mean, it's got fiberglass fenders, it's got plastic, like the whole front of it's plastic, you know what I mean? We're going to have steel doors, even this, like all in here, all the bedsides, all the stuff like that's all going to be plastic. So if the paint fades, this is still going to kind of just remain how it is. Now, I guess it'll dull, but it'll never rust. The clear coat never come out. Like it's, I mean, look at the spot there versus there. Like it's just, this will last, right? It's plastic. So how do you treat a truck like this? I mean, in my mind, and here's what we're going to do. We'll touch up some of the rock chips as best we can. We'll look for a set of doors. We'll fix the rocker on this one side because it's junk. And otherwise, it'll probably be driven as this forevermore. Now, if we happen to fall into a guy that has a box or a box side off of a Raptor or something like that in the same color, we can always change it and do things like that. This is where these trucks are still available. Doors and all that are just regular F-150. Box sides become, you have to get a Raptor. I think this is only a 2-year color, so it becomes a little harder to find. So that's kind of where we end there, but what do you do with a truck like this? Or any kind of vehicle, the newer ones than this even, so this was 14, I think 16 or 17, let's just use Raptors because we have one in front of us. A 17 Raptor is now all aluminum. So how is aluminum going to go? How is it going to age? What's it going to look like? Is paint going to start flaking off and people are just going to polish the bare aluminum? There was a guy on TikTok I saw, he had a new Ford truck and he polished the paint right off it and then polished the aluminum so it became like a mirror, which was kind of neat, but what a lot of work and what a weird way. So I guess that's just my little rant there as to what we're going to do with all these new vehicles and how are they going to age, you know, because a lot of guys are just like, if this is a regular F-150, unfortunately, it's worthless in my mind. I mean, like it's worth money. Don't get me wrong. It's probably a $10,000 truck. Like we paid for it. But it's a 10-year-old F-150. It's a good workhorse. It'll do its thing, and you can keep driving it. But at a certain point, the average individual is not worth repairing. So we did a lot of work to this thing to bring it back to snuff. So I did spark plugs on it, which was a lot of work because it's 16 plugs. They're awkward to get to. I was looking online. A lot of guys were saying it's about a $1,000 job. So $1,000 set of spark plugs in a truck that's worth $10,000, that's tough to take. You know, shocks and brakes and front end and all that sort of stuff. If you can do it yourself, great. But if you're paying someone, imagine that, spending, let's say you do front brakes, front suspension, a set of tires, a set of spark plugs, and you got to pay someone to do all that work. You'd be $5,000 into a $10,000 truck. That's tough to take. So all these trucks now are going to end up going, or cars, whatever it may be, end up at the wrecker and whatever it is. Even new stuff like the new Mustangs, the new Challengers, the new Camaros. What are we going to do with all those things? Because ultimately, I think they're going to get wore out and people are going to pull the drive lines out of them to put in classic cars, the timeless stuff, and those ones will eventually kind of start dwindling away. So how are we going to handle these things is my question to all you guys. How should we handle this truck? I don't really know what the answer is, but yeah, that's my little rant. I think that's all I want to talk about. What do you do with the new stuff before it's a classic? It's not a classic till 25 years old. This is a 10-year-old truck, and I think it's an old truck already. There you go. That's my little rant with Dan. I guess I should have come up with a quick quip. We'll come up with something after and put it in post. Anyways,
that technology.
Danny's dressed up. She's wearing cowboy boots, and we're going out for an Alberta. I got my cowboy hat and my Raptor. We're gonna go get something Alberta-wise after I finish cleaning this junk off because the stickers drive me nuts. PPF, who'd have thought? Probably don't have to take this off many 55 Chevrolets. Look how nice the paint was right under it though, eh? Gorgeous. Worn. 220,000 miles? 0. See you on the next one.